very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Let's begin as always with this morning's headlines. Nestle India takes Maggi noodles off the shelves after ban on product in 4 more states. "18 army men killed and 11 injured in an ambush in Manipur," centre says attackers won't be spared. Greece delays its repayment to the International Monetary Fund, country to bundle up all its June debts to the international lender. At least 150 people killed after a petrol station they were taking refuge in catches fire in Ghana's capital, Accra. And Saina Nehwal and Parupalli Kashyap entered the quarterfinals of the Indonesian Open Super Series. A top focus on the bulletin this morning. Nestle India has decided to take Maggi noodles off the shelves following a ban of the product in 4 more states. The company has, however, clarified that the product will be back in the market soon, once the controversy is cleared. Meanwhile, the Food Authority of India has ordered other noodle brands to be tested as well. Here's more.
For 30 years, Maggi has been instant food for many in India. But the product now stands banned in several states for lead content beyond permissible limits. After Delhi, 4 more states, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Jammu and Kashmir and Uttarakhand banned it.
All the district magistrates are hereby directed to impose complete ban on the sale of Maggi products in the state.
जब तक स्थिति क्लियर ना हो जाए हम इनको उस सामान को सीज कर रहे हैं और इनको इंस्ट्रक्शन दे रहे हैं कि उसको सामान को स्थिति क्लियर होने तक हमारे अगले निर्देश तक बाजार में ना विक्रय किया जाए.
Following the raging controversy and concerted action directed against it, Nestle India has decided to take the product off the shelves for now. In a statement asserting that the product is completely safe, the company said, "Unfortunately, recent developments and unfounded concerns about the product have led to an environment of confusion for the consumer to such an extent that we have decided to withdraw the product off the shelves. We promise that the trusted Maggi noodles will be back in the market as soon as the current situation is clarified." But the probe will not stop with Nestle. Indian Food Authority, FSI, has decided to test noodles from other manufacturers too.
Why isolate Nestle? Pick up the samples for other manufacturers also, so that you have a clarity on it, because whether it comes from A company or B company, it's a food product and that is consumed. So here we are concerned about the safety of the food product, and they must draw samples from others as well.
Maggi se humne Maggi humne Maggi.
But the state that kicked up the storm, Uttar Pradesh, is yet to decide on banning Maggi. Maharashtra, Goa and Kerala have however given the popular product a clean chit. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, there you have it. Of course, Nestle has withdrawn Maggi noodles after it was banned in 4 more states. Yesterday, the first state to ban the noodles was Delhi, post which, of course, yesterday we saw several other states, including West Bengal as well, withdraw Maggi or ban Maggi from most of its supermarkets and other places. And since then, Maggi has decided to go ahead and take the noodle brand off the shelves, and it has said in a statement that is going to come back strong once the entire controversy is over. Nestle, of course, has decided to take Maggi off the shelves after the food safety scare. It was earlier seen that Maggi had several very high content of lead content in the noodles, and that's why it was banned in several of the states. Joining me for a chat this morning on this very subject is Sukumar Joshi, Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court. Very good morning to you, Sukumar, and thank you for joining me on the program. As far as Maggi is concerned, or rather Nestle India is concerned, from a legal point of view, what are the options before it right now?
Fact is a question of fact, not the law. Legal aspects will come later. Is the analysis, right? You have to first formulate that whatever you are alleging is correct and there is a defect in the food article, right? And it contains whatever is alleged. So that report is the first thing which is provided under your Food Safety Act itself. Food Safety and Standard Act, 2006, is a consolidation of all the laws relating to food and safety till date, till 2006. It is consolidation that, so you don't have to consult anything else. It's provided there is a food authority created, there is a scientific panel there, and there are 4 referral laboratories and 72 laboratories. So you can send these articles for testing first and be sure what you are alleging of. If it is found, then the law will take its own course, and then the prosecutions will follow, the compensation will follow, and things like that.
Okay.
There are also provisions in this act, which is consolidated and a very comprehensive act, so to say a complete code in itself, right? In this, the first thing that the authority has to take is, once it comes to a conclusion that there is a defect in the article, food article, then necessary prosecution should start, right? So first point is to collect the food articles, send it for sampling, and authoritatively come to a conclusion that the article contained material which are not safe for human consumption.
What action can be taken against Nestle if Nestle is found to have broken the food safety law? What action can be taken against Nestle India?
Yeah, actions are provided. What actions? There are 2 things. One is the civil action, that is under the Consumer Protection Act, right? Under Section 12, a complaint is filed, and under Section 13(1)(c), the commission, the consumer forums which are created under the act, will have to send it to the appropriate laboratory for testing again, right? So once that report comes, then there is a award of compensation and penalty provided under Section 14 of the act. That is so far as consumer protection is concerned, and that's very wide. So far as Food Safety Act is concerned, there are various actors in this whole manufacturing and selling of the product. So all of them have to be separately dealt with. So for example, the sellers, the manufacturers, the distributors, the promoters, right, the advertisers, they all have separate provisions. Let's say for example, Section 53 would say that you punish them for promoting this also, right? So under that provision, there will be a penalty up to 1 lakh, that's slightly limited, and if it is found guilty, the manufacturer will be also sentenced to imprisonment up to 6 months. So this is the food authority will have to take a call on that.
Indeed, the food authority will have to take a final call on this matter. Thank you so much, Sukumar Padjoshi, for joining us on the program and putting things into perspective for all us as far as the legal perspective is concerned. Moving on now, the centre has strongly condemned the attack on an army convoy in Manipur, in which 18 army personnel were killed and 11 injured. The Prime Minister, Defence Minister and Home Minister have termed it a cowardly act and have assured that the attackers will be brought to book. The Prime Minister said that, and I quote, "Today's mindless attack in Manipur is very distressing. I bow to each and every soldier who has sacrificed his life for the nation." Meanwhile, the Home Minister Rajnath Singh said, and I quote, "Deeply distressed after the news of attack on army convoy in Manipur, we will not allow the sacrifices of our soldiers to go to waste." The Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar also reacted to the dastardly act, and he said, and I quote, "Those who committed the cowardly act will be brought to book," unquote. Meanwhile, Congress President Sonia Gandhi also condemned the attack, saying, and I quote, "The Congress party, as indeed the entire nation, stood indebted once again to the brave sons of India." unquote. This is being termed the worst such attack in 2 decades. Army and civilian authorities suspect the involvement of Manipur rebel outfit People's Liberation Army and Kanglai Yawol Kannalup, a Meethai revolutionary organization who used landmines, rocket-propelled grenades and automatic weapons. Well, let's take a look now at the news and events lined up for the day today in our segment, The Day Ahead. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate a tree plantation campaign by planting a sapling at his official residence, 7 Racecourse Road, on World Environment Day today. Several such events are planned by the Environment Ministry across the country to mark the occasion. Celebrities will also lend their support to the cause, with cricketers Sachin Tendulkar, Ajinkya Rahane and Rohit Sharma planting saplings in Mumbai. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee will leave for Dhaka and join Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who will formally sign the land boundary agreement along with Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on June 6th. Modi will undertake a 2-day visit to the neighbouring country on June 6th. A Delhi court will be hearing a case in which rights activist Irom Sharmila is facing trial for allegedly trying to commit suicide during her fast unto death at Jantar Mantar in 2006. Irom was flown to the national capital to make an appearance in court. Going on now, Netherlands Prime Minister Mark Rutte will be visiting India for 3 days beginning today. Rutte is scheduled to hold delegation-level talks with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi later in the afternoon at the Hyderabad House. An MOU is expected to be signed between delegations of both countries on trade and further investments. Netherlands is one of the top 5 investors in India with trade worth almost 6 billion euros. Rutte will be travelling to Mumbai to meet other ministers and top businessmen. He will be laying a wreath at Mumbai's Taj Mahal Palace in remembrance of the Mumbai attacks. It's time for a quick break now, but still to come. Monsoon expected to hit the Kerala coast today. That and much more coming up on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Today we have a special guest, very versatile scientist. Welcome, Dr. Amit.
We still have close to 500,000 deaths every year because of malaria, which is a very significant number. That is why 15 years ago and still now research on malaria is extremely relevant. Medical research, clinical research, which are the tools that we need to tackle the problem.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Amit Sharma, Group Leader and Staff Scientist at ICGEB on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, the southwest monsoon is likely to hit the Kerala coast today after a delay of 4 days. The normal date of the onset of monsoons over Kerala is June 1st. The Indian Meteorological Department had first predicted that the state could get its first showers on May 30th, but the onset of the rainy season has been delayed. Last year too, monsoon was delayed and hit the Kerala coast on June 6th. The Met Department has said that there has been an increase in the rainfall activity in Kerala and monsoon could hit the state anytime soon. Here's a look now at what else is making news across the country in our nationwide. Cabin crew member of an Air India flight was detained by the Jeddah airport authorities on charges of smuggling out gold. The detained cabin crew was to board the flight bound for Kochi along with 11 other crew members. The incident, which happened this morning, forced Air India to operate the flight with 11 cabin crew members instead of mandatory 12. There was no official word from Air India, however, on the matter. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav has attacked the opposition party, saying that those ridiculing his government's free laptop scheme were following his footsteps. The The Chief Minister said that other states were following the schemes of Uttar Pradesh. He alleged that some opponents were of the view that the scheme could take a formal shape, adding that those people later started advocating about Wi-Fi. 8 persons have been arrested from different parts of Kashmir in connection with the threats and attacks on mobile transmission towers in the valley. 2 people were killed, several others having links with cellular companies threatened, and many telecom towers were damaged by militants in Kashmir Valley recently, raising concerns in the Home Ministry. India has lost a case at the WTO with the World Trade Organization, ruling that Indian ban on import of poultry, meat, eggs and live pigs from the US was inconsistent with the international norms. India will have 12 to 18 months to implement this ruling, after which the US can begin exports of these products to India. The victory will help address barriers to the Indian market for US farmers, including those in the US poultry industry in particular. Moving on now, Home Minister Rajnath Singh will visit forward areas in Ladakh. These areas have seen incursions by Chinese troops in the recent past. During the 3-day trip, the Home Minister will review the progress of various infrastructure development projects along the Sino-Indian border in Ladakh. Singh will also interact with personnel of the Indo-Tibetan border police deployed along the snow-covered heights. Well, China has virtually rejected Prime Minister Narendra Modi's proposal to clarify positions on the line of actual control. Beijing prefers an agreement with India on a code of conduct to maintain peace along the border. During his visit to China last month, Modi had pushed his Chinese counterpart to resolve the dispute without compromising the status quo. Here's more.
China prefers a pact with India on a code of conduct to maintain peace along the border rather than clarification of line of actual control proposed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his visit last month. Outlining China's first public reaction to the proposal, Deputy Director General of Asian Affairs at the Foreign Ministry said attempts to clarify mutual positions on the LAC had encountered difficulties in the past. Speaking on the outcome of Modi's visit, Huang Shilian said that China will not entertain any issues that poses as a stumbling block to move forward. In the past, the two sides have held 18 rounds of special representative talks to resolve the issue. While China claims the border dispute is limited to around 2,000 kilometers, mostly in Arunachal Pradesh, India claims it is spread over 4,000 kilometers, especially in the Aksai Chin area. China also defended the $46 billion economic corridor through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, despite India's objections to it. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had raised the issue during his visit.
जब प्रधानमंत्री वहां गए, तब उन्होंने इस बात को बहुत दृढ़ता से कहा और इस मुद्दे को बहुत मजबूती से उठाया कि ये जो आपने चाइना पाकिस्तान इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर की बात की है और उसमें भी खासतौर पे पीओके में जाने की बात की है, ये हमें स्वीकार नहीं है। जहां तक साउथ चाइना सी की बात आप कर रहे हैं, साउथ चाइना सी में जो हमारी कमर्शियल एक्टिविटी है ऑयल ड्रिलिंग की, वो इंटरनेशनल लॉ से कंपैटिबल है।
China has also opposed to India's oil exploration in the South China Sea because it is a disputed area. Vietnam recently awarded oil exploration contracts to ONGC, which was opposed by Beijing. China claims sovereignty over almost all of the South China Sea and Vietnam. The Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei and Taiwan object to that. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
It's time now for another quick break, but still to come. Tragedy in Ghana's capital. At least 150 people charred to death in a blaze at a petrol station. That and much more on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of World Panorama with me, Frank Pereira.
Barack Obama has been elected on the basis that I will no longer take America into wars, and in fact quite the opposite, I will pull America out of wars.
According to the Indian government, fishermen are not at fault.
The US intervention in Iraq set the stage for exacerbation of these conflicts, and then the intervention in Syria.
Watch World Panorama
at these times on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back, you're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, under an executive board decision, Greece has decided to bundle up all of its June debt payments to IMF. In talks in Brussels, Greece informed the IMF that it will be delaying its first debt payment due today. Athens is under pressure from its own people to compromise a more realistic bailout deal with its creditors. Here's more.
In a major setback to the talks on containing the Greek debt crisis, the Tsipras government has delayed the key payment to the IMF due today. Athens had informed the global lender IMF that it plans to bundle 4 payments due in June into a single sum of whopping 1.6 billion euros due on 30th June. But many say the Greek default on debt payments was on expected lines. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said talks on a cash for reforms deal with Athens was still far from fruition.
Ich kann zu allem, was da geschrieben steht, in den Details deshalb nichts sagen, weil ich sehr gut darüber informiert bin, dass die Verhandlungen alle noch laufen. Sie laufen glücklicherweise mit Hochdruck, aber sie sind noch längst nicht an einem Schlusspunkt angekommen. Und deshalb wäre jede Detailkommentierung jetzt vollkommen falsch.
Nevertheless, we made some progress yesterday night, not sufficient, but nevertheless trying to put together the elements proposed by our Greek colleagues and friends.
By enforcing the structural reforms, by really embracing all the objectives of the program, the country can pull itself out of a situation that has lasted for too long.
In the talks with EU officials in Brussels, Greek Prime Minister Tsipras put up a tough stand, saying it could not breach the red lines his party has declared. Tsipras is facing fury among his party members to negotiate changes to the tough reforms put forth by the international creditors. He has rejected the pension cuts and a tax rise on electricity that have been demanded by the lenders to unlock the final bailout funds. Major differences remain between the two sides, even as Greece runs out of time to avert a default that could badly hurt its economy and world markets. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In some more international news now, a massive blaze at a petrol station in Ghana's capital left at least 150 dead, with many believed to be still trapped. The fire ripped through the filling station, shattering windows and walls and reducing the station to rubble. It began on Wednesday night as people were trying to find shelter from heavy rain, which has left many homeless and without power.
There were carnage and scenes of grief at a petrol station in Ghana's capital, Accra, following an explosion late on Wednesday that killed at least 150 people. The ghastly incident took place as victims were trying to take shelter from days of torrential rains in the city.
First fire that I saw was from this place. You know, because later on, when we were able to escape, I realized that there was something like petrol or so on the surface of the water. So I'm sure that was a catalyst that brought out the whole fire.
Firefighters battled the blaze into early hours, while police and soldiers joined the emergency crew in helping to rescue those trapped in the wreckage. Charred corpses and wreckage of about a dozen cars and minibuses littered the forecourt of the station.
It is a filling station. There were a lot of fuel particles around. It got contaminated with the water, and those that were not mixable with the water would definitely float. So they were floating on the surface of the water, but it's a running water, so it was able to run from the filling station to a distance where there was a naked fire, and they picked the fire from there.
Initial signs suggest the fire started by accident at a nearby lorry terminal that spread quickly to the petrol station and other buildings. The situation was only worsened because of the rains, as the floodwaters acted as a catalyst, carrying the petrol station fuel to nearby areas, fanning the fire further. President John Dramani Mahama, who visited the area, was heartbroken by the tragic scenes. He has announced 3 days of national mourning to begin on Monday. He has vowed to take tough measures to stop people from building on waterways, which appears to be a major factor in the disaster.
We'll have to take some measures to be able to avoid this happening in the future. And often when these measures are drastic, but I think that the time has come, for us to remove houses out of water. And the public should understand that it is necessary to save everybody else.
2 days of heavy rain and power outages has crippled a large part of the city. The government said it will be releasing $14 million to help the flood victims. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now bring you up to date with the other international news and updates in our segment World Wrap. Mauritius Parliament appointed Amina Gurib Fakim as the island nation's new president. She will be the first woman to hold the position. The motion moved by the Prime Minister Anirudh Jugnauth for her election was unanimously approved in Parliament. The death in China's boat capsizing incident has gone up to 82 and over 350 are still missing. Only 14 survivors, including the captain and the chief engineer, have been found, and officials have now ruled out the possibility of finding any survivors. The ship that was carrying 456 people overturned during a freak tornado on Monday night on the Yangtze River. Hackers breached the computer system of the United States government agency that collects personal information for federal workers, compromising the data of about 4 million current and former employees. The FBI said that it has launched a probe and would hold the culprits accountable. US officials suspect hackers based in China are behind the attack. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has said that the EU may have to consider treaty change if that is what it takes to keep the UK in. In an interview to BBC, she said that she is confident that conditions can be created for the UK to stay in, and she is not losing sleep over it. UK Prime Minister David Cameron aims to negotiate the UK's EU membership terms ahead of an in or out referendum. Let's now bring you up to date with all the overnight sports events from around the world in our sports beat. Water miler Machitere Raju Puamma and hepathlete Lixie Joseph won a silver each as India added 4 medals on the second day of the 21st Asian Athletics Championships. Puamma, who had also won a silver in the last edition in 2013, clocked 53.07 seconds in the women's 400 meters final to finish second behind China's Yang Duzhen. While Joseph, who was trailing at 6th place at the end of the opening day yesterday, cleared 6.19 meters in the long jump on Thursday to move up to 3rd place. Indian badminton ace Saina Nehwal lost her top spot in the ranking. She is now number 3 according to the latest rankings list released on Thursday. Reigning Olympic champion Lee Zuri regained the top spot after Saina failed to defend her Australian Open title last month. Meanwhile, in the Indonesian Open Super Series tournament, India's Olympic bronze medalist Saina Nehwal and Parupalli Kashyap entered the quarterfinals, but Kidambi Srikanth and women's doubles pair of Jwala Gutta and Ashwini Ponnappa lost in the pre-quarterfinals of the Indonesian Open Super Series tournament. FIFA paid Ireland's FA $5 million to avoid a legal case over a controversial World Cup playoff defeat in 2009. Ireland were knocked out by France in a 2-legged playoff to qualify for the 2010 South Africa tournament, with the decisive goal in the second leg coming after a handball by French striker Thierry Henry in extra time. Lucy Safarova defeated Anna Ivanovic in straight sets to reach her first Grand Slam final at the French Open. World number 13 defeated her Serbian opponent 7-5, 7-5 after being 3-5 down in the first set. She will play the winner of the second semi-final between world number 1 Serena Williams and Timea Baksinski. That's it on this edition of the Bulletin. Have a nice day.